2, 1. That was Jagged Edge. Gotta be. Almost invariably, every time something happened, there is this level of whataboutism. Like when the Capitol was attacked. What about the Black Lives Matter protests that were in D.C.? Well, we know what happened with the Black Lives Matter protests. The Capitol was rung with guards. The authorities from all stripes were surrounding the Capitol. There was tear gas and horses and every available kind of authority to make sure that nothing got out of control. So what we know did happen at the Capitol on January 6th was at the behest of the former president of the United States. People invaded the Capitol. Feces got smeared around, windows got broke, people were threatened, there were gallows. So we know any reasonable human being that isn't being naive, obtuse, or duplicitous knows that that's not the same. Much like it isn't the same when you go, oh, what about reverse racism? That doesn't exist either. That would imply that one group who were formerly in charge got control, and all of a sudden the municipalities, the corporations, the systems that were in place switched and started to oppress somebody else. That would be reverse racism. That would mean black people started to own white people. So we know that doesn't exist. That's not true. What also isn't true is that Joe Biden's having classified documents is not the same as Donald Trump having classified documents. Donald Trump took those documents. NARA tried to get in contact with him for months, had conversation with his legal representative, went and visited him at his home, talked to him, and they were told, and it was sworn off that they got all that he had to have, all that was in his possession. We know that isn't true because in subsequent conversations, they decided the only way we're going to get this back is that we're going to have to go and take it back from him. Donald Trump's not in trouble for classified documents because he took them. It's because he lied about taking them and tried to keep them. Donald Trump tried to keep them. He went to court to try to get him, try to get a special master to. I remember the debacle with Eileen Cannon, the judge that he appointed. He tried everything he could. Whereas Joe Biden found his lawyer, he was moving out of office. His lawyers found some documents, let NARA know. They got into contact with the Department of Justice, and we are here. We know those things aren't the same. Much like marijuana possession isn't the same as cocaine possession. We know that manslaughter isn't the same as murder. There are gradations. Offsides penalty isn't the same as targeting. Yes, they're penalties. They're not the same. There's always this desire to blunt what somebody else did by saying, oh, they're all the same. Are they? We know about Joe Biden because what happened with Joe Biden because his people told. He called the penalty on himself, and he kept doing. Can you imagine Donald Trump doing anything like that? When somebody was appointed to oversee what was going on, to look at the Biden case, did he try to fire the attorney general? Did he make everybody who was involved in it swear not to testify? Did he try to threaten people not to testify? They are not the same, and you know it. There are gradations, and we use them all the time. We know for sure. I don't know what will happen as a result of this special investigation. I do know this. It's foolish for somebody to do something intentional and then tell they did it. We know for sure that Donald Trump not only took those things, but tried to keep them. And the Supreme Court, he went all the way to the Supreme Court so he could keep them. He tried to. There's intent. Intentional is different than somebody doing something accidental. I know Joe Biden ain't packing bags up. I don't pack up bags up when we move. I haven't packed a box when we moved in the last 20 years. But if something happens, when we do this thing, this is the same thing as that. You know good and damn well that Black Lives Matter protest never was the same as an insurrection at January 6th. You know good and damn well it didn't happen. You use nuances in parlance all the time. We see it all the time. There are gradations, and we use them all the time when they're for our benefit. You don't see whataboutism like that. You know what nuances are. It is when we watch a man get murdered by a police officer, instead of getting the full thrust of the law, he gets 20 years. That's what nuances are. It's when a police officer walks into a man's apartment and gets 10 years for it, when another person would be probably in jail for life. You use nuances all the time. When you do things like this, either you're willfully blind, you're naive, or you're obtuse. One or the other. They are not the same. The reaction isn't the same. One is cooperating. One is telling what he did. One is trying to, even to this day, threaten people or try to get to remove people or try to malign people. It's not the same. You'll know it's the same you'll know if it's the same if Joe Biden tries to fire his attorney general when he doesn't get a result that he wants, like Donald Trump did his. They're not the same kind of people. These aren't the same kind of circumstances. There are nuances. You use them all the time when they benefit you. You know, there's shades of gray. That's a little note from the GED section. We've got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show. Or a specific fact, and you can Google it. Information is all around us. Now, how we access, whether we choose to access that information, what we do with that information, debatable. But the fact that it exists, and exists in a very convenient, at our fingertips kind of way, almost makes it impossible to not know something you really want to know. If you really want to know something, generally the information is all around us. It's a finger click away. Words to a song, recipes, specific facts. We're inundated with information all around us. And that is why I place a lot of the onus of what is happening in Long Island and John Santos on the people around him. His constituents, all they had to do, if they really wanted to know if it was true, is hit Google. That's all they had to do. It's way better than Ask Jeeves. That went out a long time ago. You can ask Google and it will tell you almost anything. There's no excuse for someone to hire a police officer who's been fired before, because all you have to do is Google. Like when you go into a job, interview, you best believe they are accessing the information you give them. They're Googling you. I don't know how many times somebody's walked up to me on a plane, didn't know who I was. Is this you? You can take a picture and ask Google who this is, and the information is all around. That is why the onus is on the people who didn't want to know. They didn't want to know that Santa, almost virtually every fact of his life is a lie. All of them. Where he went to school, his achievements, the sports teams, where his mother died, how she died, his businesses. Now we're finding out that he was in a drag show in Brazil. But all of that information was at your fingertips. You decided you didn't want to know. Anytime somebody hires a cop that was fired for some level of malfeasance, and they get hired in a municipality 10 miles away, they didn't want to know. We have access to information. It is all around us. The only reason you do not know something is because you decided you didn't want to. Trust but verify. I don't know how many times you hear a woman out with men, he'll say something, she will Google him, get his information. Does he have any kids? How much money he makes? Is this his real last name? Ever been to jail? It is our desire to know things. It is how we stop from getting duped. But it's attributed to Mark Twain. I don't know that it's specific to him or not, but there's an old saying that fooling someone is easier than convincing them they were fooled. The paramount thing is that no one wanted to know. They wanted that house seat so bad, it's a swing distance. They didn't care what he said. Now, a certain amount of lies would have been okay. But this dude wins the grand prize for lying. Nothing about him is true. Not a thing. Not where he grew up, not where he worked, not where he went to school, not what team he played for, not his parents. They was a drag show. Like he's a total fabrication. And all people had to do to find out if that was true or not is hit Google. All they had to do to find out if the man they were voting for, the man they were entrusting with their district, the wishes of their district, all they had to do was hit a button. All they really had to do was want to know. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.